This is Shirley Johnson with SculpTools, and I'd like to show you today another tutorial on various different techniques. Going to talk a little bit about armatures, about conditioning clay, and about some tools that I use. So I thought I'd start out by showing you some of the work that I've done with the tools that I'll be showing you, and with some variations on the armature techniques. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some of the tools that I use that you'll see during the demonstration and the work in progress segments following later on. One of the tools that I use is a blade for cutting clay up, and I just fashioned a little handle out of a piece of cane and epoxied it on there. But what this blade is, so I got this from a paint specialty store. I think it was Sherwin-Williams or one of those places, where they sell a tool that's made for scraping off wallpaper. So it's a wallpaper scraper blade. Comes in a 3-pack, quite economical. It is thicker and less flexible than some of the clay blades, which is what I wanted, and it's just ideal for chopping up pieces of clay that aren't too terribly thick. Sometimes I'll have to use a thicker knife or something. This old kitchen knife that I remade a handle onto because it has a very thick and heavy blade. Sometimes I'll use that and things like that to cut up clay, but that's very handy. That's why I did not make a handle on the other end. Basic sets that any of these tools that I'm about to tell you about are available at SkulpTools.com, and that's SculpTools with a K. This is, I used to call these my favorite tools, and now they're the SkulpTools signature tools. It's basically the same tool shape in 5 different sizes. And this is the largest one, and this is the smallest one. It goes from about 1/4 inch width down to, let me turn these all the same direction, down to a 1/16 of an inch. And it's 1/4 inch, 3/16, 1/8, 3/32, and 1/16. And they're all good for various different sizes of details, but they all have, let me see if I can get that real close to the camera. If you can see that, I'm going to kind of just turn it around, see if you can see on the camera how that looks. They all have kind of the triangular shaped blade with the bend in it, kind of like that. And then the other end, you'll have a smooth, rounded smoothing tip. So each of them have that same configuration, just 5 different sizes. So those are the SkulpTools signature tools that you'll see me use a lot. Then I have various tools that are good for cutting clay and cutting details. I have a thin wire loop cutter that has a sharpened inner edge that's good for getting down real close into fine tiny details because of the thinness. You can always also use the edges for sculpting as well, the rounded edges. It has a smoothing tip on the other end. And you'll see me use a couple of sizes of this deep cutter loop that I have. This is the smallest size. It has a 1/16 tip on this end and a 1/8 on that end. So there's that one. And then this is for creating grooves in 2 different sizes. It has a tapered end to it, and this end is 1/8 size, and this is 1/4 size. And they have various tools for smoothing. I have 3 different stylus tools, and they each have a small and big end. These are the smaller ends. Goes from 1/16 up to 1/4 of an inch on this end. And this one is an angled tip. It has just a slight bend, so you can get into areas and kind of get around corners. It's really good for sculpting inside the ear and up in nostrils and all those kinds of areas where you need to get up and in and get around the eyes and all those little details. And then for larger areas, I have the bigger tips. And those are also available. The 5 tool set and the 3 tool set, they're available in sets if you would rather buy them together or separately. And I make 3 different acrylic shaper tools that are really good. You'll see me use these a lot during the video for moving clay from one area to another, and with a lot of pressure behind it, so that you can push the clay and get it shaped the way you want. And there's various sizes of tips. These are similar, and then it goes into a finer tip, and then this has a flat tip for moving the clay in a flat area and getting into cracks and crevices, like in between my finger there if I was doing that on clay. This is kind of a blunt rounded tip, and then this is a straight blunt tip, and that's for getting into areas kind of like this where there's a crack and so forth, that you want to smooth the clay and get rid of the tool marks. That's what those are good for. I'm in the process of making, these are kind of prototypes, test models of some silicone wedges. The end type tools will probably look a little differently than these, but they'll follow the same idea. And they're really good for smoothing the clay in areas where your fingers won't reach. And you'll see me use those from time to time to smooth an area after I've used some of those other tools to get the smooth texture that I want. And there's various shapes to these. It's just a small wedge shape, kind of narrow, and this is kind of like a tiny little finger. That's the way I think of it, getting into just those little tiny places to smooth the clay where your fingers won't reach. Two different sizes right now. Currently I'm working on a 3rd size, but these just make such quick work of smoothing the clay down in various spots. You know, say you wanted to smooth down the wrinkles in that finger, it cuts down the wrinkles in the clay like right now. I mean, it just works very, very quickly, and you'll see how those work. And this is just a smaller version, but these it rolls freely, and it works especially well when you work it this direction rather than pulling. I have a little spring-fed, spring-loaded function in there that makes it work much better, but with just a little bit of forward pressure, it just smooths the clay down very quickly. And I make, and this again is the earlier version, but the same tool has the nicer handle online. This is a pretty sharp cutting blade that I use for getting in to tiny areas, you know, like parting the lips and putting texture in where I want real fine lines. They're just ideal for that. So those are the main tools that I use, and there's some others that you'll see from time to time, but I also wanted to mention this is the product that you saw earlier that I used to create the Armature. Epoxy Sculpt, and it's by Aves, made by Aves. and you can get it in various sizes and a lot of different colors, but you use equal parts of this and you can make a very, very strong sculpture out of it if you'd like, or just use it like I did for armatures and so forth, or in little places where you want to make a firm foundation to sculpt on top of. It's friendly to polymer clay. You can bake this in the oven just like you can underneath the polymer clay. It's no problem. And again, a similar product is Magic Sculpt, and I've not used that yet, so I can't tell you how they compare, but that's what that's about. So that's the segment on tools. And again, if you're interested in knowing more about the tools that I use on this video, go to SkulpTools.com.